Can somebody put a body on Adrian Kempe, please? And can somebody please save Lukas Dostal? I'll talk about all of that on this edition of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ay, 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 ay. Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jason Hernandez. I've been covering hockey for over a decade, and this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. For those of you everydayers, this is going to sound like a broken record, but bear with me. Lukas Dostal. Yes, I'm going to talk about Lukas Dostal again. Why is that? Because he pretty much nearly saved the Ducks in last night's freeway face-off against the Los Angeles Kings. And God, Adrian Kempe. Can the Ducks stop Adrian Kempe? But we're going to just talk about Lukas Dostal for the entirety of this first segment. Yes, the everydayers are used to me talking about Dostal a lot. Well, that's because he is the number one goalie for the Ducks now. That's because I think that highly of him. That's because I think he is an all-star caliber goaltender. So far this season, Dostal has done pretty much everything he possibly can to keep the Ducks in these games no matter what. So far this season, Lukas Dostal has done what he has to do. His save percentage is good. His record is not bad. The Ducks just aren't scoring, and the Ducks are not helping him out at all. What do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you. Last night, the Los Angeles Kings had 37 shots on goal to 15 for the Anaheim Ducks. Yes, you heard that right. David Riddick only stopped 15 shots, and that's it. And all 4 of those goals for the Kings took place in the third period. So they were hanging tight. Lukas Dostal kept the Ducks in the game for the first 40 minutes of this one. More accurately, the first 43 minutes of this game. And then everything seemed to fall apart. And I'm not going to harp on the defense. I'm going to talk about Lukas Dostal and try to stay positive on this. In fact, I'm incorrect on this. According to the website, it's in fact 36 shots to 14. So it's even worse. 36 to 14, and that is it. That's disgusting, folks. When you get outshot 36 to 14, you know it's really bad. Here's where it's worse. Shot attempts in this one. 73 to 38. You mean to tell me that the Ducks allowed 36 shots on goal and they only took 38 shot attempts themselves? Ugh. Yeah, that's it. That's really freaking it. I'm going to remain calm here, or try to remain calm here, because Dostal, I think, is still the number one goalie. I think that highly of him. Ooh. So far this season, save percentage has been good for Lukas Dostal. Save percentage so far this season is an astounding .931. His goals against is just above 2. That's not bad. Last night, he only gave up 2 goals to the Los Angeles Kings. The last 2 were empty netters. So in fact, when you think about the shots and shot attempts and all that, Dostal made 34 saves. Terrific. 34 saves for the Ducks. Ugh. That's how upsetting this was. Dostal really did everything he could. Sorry, not 34 saves. 32 saves out of 34 shots. The last 2 were empty netters. So 32 saves out of 34. That's still a save percentage in the game of .941. Still very good. Normally, those type of numbers would at least get you a point in the game. In fact, let's look at Dostal's numbers just for the heck of it. Just for the heck of what his numbers are so far just within each game. Dostal, of course, got that terrific shutout early on in this season. He looked good in that first game. He was terrific. Then everything after that, not his fault. Not at all. First game shutout. Second one, it was a win against Utah Hockey Club, but that was kind of a weird, wacky game. Save percentage, .867 for that game. Then the game at Colorado, 45 saves. Save percentage of .918. This one, 33 saves or 32 saves, .940 save percentage. That's good. That's very good. If not for that Utah game, his save percentage would be even better than it already is. And he's done everything he could. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into this because when you compare Dostal and Gibson, who is still out, but he is going to travel with the team, by the way, so Gibby could come back during this road trip. John Gibson only had one shutout all of last season, and Gibby got off to a not terrible start last season. Last year, he lost his first 3 games in a row and then won his next 3 in a row, but the save percentage numbers are not that great. 919, 875, 920, 900, 857. You see where I'm going with this. Not off to a great start. He did pick it up somewhat later on, but the majority of his games, the save percentage was well below 910. In fact, if you look at his 46 games he played last season, only 15 of them were above 920. In fact, only 18 of them were above 910. That's not ideal for your supposed number one goalie. And you look at what Dostal's doing. Dostal's already got better numbers for the Anaheim Ducks. And this is only in a short time, only 4 games. It's worrying. It's worrying when you have the same things happening over and over and over again, where Dostal is getting pretty much the brunt of all the work. And I know I jokingly said, oh, let's give John Gibson the taser. You know what? John Gibson should let Lukas Dostal have his taser. Let him borrow it for a few games. I mean, Dostal should be getting fed from his teammates. Dostal does not deserve to pay for any meals for the next day, week, month, year. He's been terrific. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper with Lukas Dostal right now. And we're going to go into some weird stats here. And this is from Natural Stat Trick or Nat Stat Trick. So far this season, Lukas Dostal has given up 5 high danger goals. That's a lot. But also consider this. Out of the 14 goalies so far this season that have allowed 5 or more high danger goals, Lukas Dostal has the best high danger save percentage out of all of those guys. This is a list that includes Jacob Markstrom, UC Saros, Jordan Binnington, Connor Ingram, David Riddick, who the Ducks just saw, Sergei Bobrovsky, Peter Mrazek, Jeremy Swayman is on this list. Jeremy Swayman has given up 5 high danger goals in 4 games. His high danger save percentage is a miserable 722. And Dostal's at an 853 high danger save percentage clip. That's very good. For high danger save percentage, that is among the tops out of all NHL goalies so far this season. League average, just in general, high danger save percentage league average hovers around, I would say hovers around 800, maybe a little bit less than that. So for Dostal to be that high above league average, as far as that particular stat, that speaks volumes for how much he has saved their butts. Oh, but there's another kind of fun stat as far as high danger stuff. High danger goals, Dostal has given up 5. How about high danger shots against? Lukas Dostal has had 34 high danger shots against him so far this season. Only one goalie has allowed more, 38 high danger shots against, Jacob Markstrom, but that's across 6 games. And right below him, Connor Ingram, 30 high danger shots against, but that's across 5 games. But you know what Lukas Dostal does lead the league in right now? High danger saves, 29. That leads the league right now. That is both good and bad. It is good because your goalie is the last bastion of defense. He is the one that is making those saves. That's why it's good, because Dostal is the one doing that. It's bad because the Ducks defense is allowing that many high danger chances and that many high danger shots. So you could see the double-edged sword where it's good and bad. So poor Lukas Dostal. Yes, the bakery has been closed. I say that, it's still a little inside joke, but I call him the bakery because when the bakery is closed, Dostal is doing his job. Okay? How about this for a stat? Oh, you think I'm done with the stats yet? No, I'm still going to keep going. Lukas Dostal so far this season has been just terrific as far as the game score via Hockey Stat Cards. If you haven't checked out that website, Hockey Stat Cards has a ton of good information. One of the most telling ones is individual expected goals. The Ducks, according to that website, should have allowed 15.5 goals. And Dostal has only allowed 10 of them to go through. So his game score total is 5.52. That's very good. Not many goalies are better than him in that regard. In fact, when you look at the adjusted average score as far as goalies, Lukas Dostal has a game score average of 1.38. That is amongst the league leaders as far as games played, as far as at least 3 games. Jake Ottinger, 1.84. Sam Montembeault has been doing a great job for Montreal too. His expected goals is 15.9. So he's been on a tear recently as well. Who else is on this list? Kevin Lankinen is on this list. Igor Shesterkin. He's been playing out of his mind to start off the season, but that's Igor Shesterkin. Anthony Stolarz also on this list, 1.39, and Dostal 1.38. So Dostal is right there amongst the best goalies as far as keeping their team in it, this according to Hockey Stat Cards. So Dostal doing a terrific job as well as he possibly can. But gosh, 73 shot attempts and having that many shots against. Somebody please save Lukas Dostal from going completely nuts. I would expect him to have another big game coming up tomorrow. So we'll see how that one goes. Okay, we're going to head to the first intermission right now. I've talked a lot about Lukas Dostal. We're going to talk a little bit about the game itself. And then later on, I'm going to talk about defense or lack thereof. Stay locked in. And now a brief word from Indeed. And you know what? We're driven by the search for better, just like Lukas Dostal is driven for the search for better defense. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all, but to match with Indeed. You could ditch the busy work. You don't have to make 30-something saves. You could use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employees agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So join the more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent like Dostal fast. And listeners of this very show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Let's go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Once again, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, the daily podcast covering the Anaheim Ducks. I'm your host, Jason Hernandez. We're going to keep talking about the Ducks and Kings game that took place at the Ponda, or as some Kings fans are calling it, Staples South. That's what they're calling it because I'll at least credit them by not saying South Crypt. At least most of them are saying Staples South. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. It's Staples South. I heard the crowds. I heard all the Kings fans. They were going nuts when the Kings scored. It sounded at times like a Kings home game. But we're used to this, right? We're completely used to this. I mean, Kings fans come out in droves for these rivalry games. We know this. And this was no exception last night. Yes, the fans were kind of going back and forth the first 40 minutes because there was terrific save after terrific save after terrific save. There was also crappy power play happening again. During that first period, the Ducks did kind of nothing on the power play. Sound familiar, folks? Well, it should, because we saw absolutely just Kings allowed 2 power plays to the Ducks in the first period. And what did they do during those power plays? Abso-freaking-lutely nothing. Nothing in the first two power plays in the first period. No goals. Shots were okay. Movement was fine. I mean, at least the movement is a little bit better now than it was last season. Last season, the power play needed fiber. And there was at least better movement this time. And at least there's a little bit more dynamic offense on the power play. But you know who did not have a good game yesterday? His first game back was Jackson Lacombe. I don't know if the illness is like not all the way through him yet, but he looked meh on the power play. He looked even worse on defense last night. This was just not his game. So that's concerning. Then the Ducks allowed 2 power plays to the Kings in the second period. And what happened there? Well, absolutely nothing for the Kings there too. The Kings did have some good shots on goal in the second period. I will give credit to Dostal in that second period. Shots were 13-4 in favor of the Kings. A couple of really high danger ones coming during that power play. Third period was all Los Angeles Kings. It was not close. Shots were 18-4 in the third period. Wait. Hold on. Are you telling me that the Ducks only had 4 shots in? Yes, that's exactly what we're saying. In the final 40 minutes of this game, the Ducks were outshot a whopping 31-8. Let me repeat that in case you didn't hear that. 31-8. That's it. That was the shots on goal. Oh, but it gets so much more fun than that. The shot attempts in the last 2 periods. And this is all of them. Shot attempts were 61-28 in favor of the Los Angeles Kings. Yeah, can you tell that as I was watching this game go on, you could see that the offense was just kind of asleep. In fact, Greg Cronin even said after the game, "We didn't skate." Actually, I'm going to quote this. Quote, "The way we played, you're not winning shifts. You're not winning games. We had no pressure on the puck. We did everything we did everything half-assed. Not sure why. I'm not sure why. We looked slow." End quote. Was he pissed? Yeah. He looked pissed. And as there were more questions, he was getting madder and madder. And can you blame him? This is a team that's supposed to be faster, supposed to have more aggression, more shots on net, and what we're seeing out of the Ducks so far, especially the last 2 games, has been none of that. Cutter Gauthier, as aggressive as he is, only had 1 shot on goal yesterday. Troy Terry at least had 2 shots on goal. Ryan Strome had 3 shots on goal. That's your multiples, and that's it. Oh, and Jackson Lacombe had 2 shots on goal. Not great shots, but at least he had shots on goal. But the third period, that's a period that Jackson Lacombe is going to want back. On that power play, he was out there, looked really bad. But the two goals that were allowed from the Ducks, this is one that Lacombe is really going to want back. First, there was a nifty bounce pass from Mikey Anderson to Andrei Kopitar and right to a streaking Adrian Kempe. And who was supposed to be checking out Adrian Kempe? None other than Jackson Lacombe. Lacombe got beat. He got outskated, out-hustled. He got beat by Adrian Kempe on that opening goal. And Kempe just put it right through the wickets, making it 1-0 Kings. Yeah, Lacombe looked bad on that one. He looked even worse in the second goal. Way worse. Because the Ducks did have possession. Zegras tried to get it back to Jackson Lacombe. And Lacombe tried to pass it back. I think this was trying to pass it back to Tristan Luneau, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he was trying to pass it backwards in front of the net. That's one of the most dangerous passes you can make. And there was Alex Laferriere kind of stalking the defense. And it looked like Lacombe just passed it directly to Laferriere. And that's one of the easiest goals that he's going to have in his career. And that made it 2-0 Kings. But there was a little bit of, faith there. As Dostal was skating towards the bench, he wasn't quite to the bench yet, but he had some great puck movement, and Ryan Strome tipped it in from Troy Terry. So Troy Terry kind of had it on the face-off dot, and it was a nice little tip in from Ryan Strome, his second of the season, via Frank Vetrano. That made it 2-1. This was with about a minute and 40-something seconds left. So, okay, minute 40-something left. They're down by a goal. Call a timeout. Get something going. And then the Kings went ahead and scored 2 empty netters. Kevin Fiala scored empty netter. Then Mikey Anderson scored an empty netter. That's the game. So the Kings won this one going away, 4-1. And the Ducks are left scratching their heads on this one as they are now 2-1. They're at 500 with another game coming up. All right, we're going to head into the second intermission, and I'm going to talk about the lack of defense on the other side. And now, folks, a brief word from FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. And hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. There's also futures, so you could see which perfect teams could make the Super Bowl. Could it be the Chiefs once again? They're off to a hot start. I mean, if you're betting for the Chiefs, you're making some pretty good money right now. So get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's it. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. And please, folks, gamble responsibly. I know, pup. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, you're locked in with Jason Hernandez on episode number 942 of Locked On Anaheim Ducks. So thanks to you everydayers that have stuck around for at least 100, 200, a few hundred of these shows over the last few years. Thank you so much for your continued support. That being said, let's talk about defense. Or lack of it. What I mean by that, Jackson Lacombe had a bad game, folks. His game score on this one was a -2 according to Hockey Stat Cards. He was not good pretty much the majority of this one. So I just have to say, you got to improve on that defense just a little bit. As far as the shots allowed, 31 shots allowed in 40 minutes is not going to cut it. Mintyukov had somewhat, I wouldn't say a disastrous game, but he just had one of those games that I think he's going to want to forget for the most part. Other players that I thought were standouts, Troy Terry, solid game. Stromer, solid game. Frank Vetrano, also a solid game. As far as defense is concerned, Brian Dumoulin I thought was one of the few that had pretty decent defense on this game. Jackson Lacombe, Lacombe and Luneau. But I'm not going to put too much blame on Luneau. Lacombe just had an awful game yesterday. This might be just the rust. It was his first game of the season. I'm going to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt while at the same time saying he had a bad game. He just did. And I'm not going to pin the whole loss on him. But when he looks that bad on the 2 goals that mattered, he just got beat on a foot race and kind of got caught sleeping on the Kempe goal. And then just an easy giveaway to Laferriere on that second goal. It's going to reflect poorly on you. Does that mean he's going to play the next game, or is he going to get maybe looked at with a microscope? Yes, he is going to be looked at through this microscope a little bit harder than other more veteran defensemen, to put it that way. Oh yeah, by the way, power play, not good either. Ducks are 0 for 17. The only other team without a power play goal so far this season, Buffalo Sabres. But I'm not going to talk about the power play. We're still on defense. Defense has got to improve so much. So Zegras also had a poor game defensively. Mason McTavish and Robbie Fabry also did not look the best on defense on this one. Z has got to be careful. He has got to be very careful. Just not so much falling asleep, but the positional awareness has been better this season, but he still has some moments where he kind of gets caught a little bit and allows a high danger shot or a high danger chance on the other side. I could think of at least 2 instances in last night's game where Zegras kind of got caught a little bit, allowing a high danger chance. So he still has to be careful, and he still has to watch that a little bit. McTavish usually pretty solid on defense, usually pretty good on penalty kills when he was out there for that. But McTavish cannot fall into that same trap either. So those are just some players that I think need to be a little bit careful as far as defense is concerned. All right, let's take a look at tomorrow's match. And by the way, tomorrow is Hockey Frenzy Day in the National Hockey League, where all 32 teams are playing tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I'm actually very much looking forward to all the action taking place tomorrow. My day's going to be busy because I have junior rain in the morning. And once I get home, we have the pleasure of all 16 games taking place from 3 o'clock Pacific time to 8 o'clock Pacific time. And that's why the West Coast is the best coast. All those East Coast are saying, oh man, that last game starting at 11:15. What the F is going on? I'm so tired. I'm going to fall asleep. Oh, the game's going to end at 1:32 in the morning. No, forget that. West Coast time, that game's going to end at about 10:45, 11 o'clock. And then we can go to sleep. Here's the full slate of games for tomorrow, just for the sake of it. Starting off, and I'm going to go Pacific time here. 3 o'clock, Capitals at Flyers. 3:30, Wild at Panthers. 3:45, Tampa Bay Lightning at New Jersey Devils. 4 o'clock, Stars at Buffalo. 4:15, Rangers at Habs. 4:30, Toronto at Columbus. 4:45, Red Wings at Islanders. 5 o'clock, Winnipeg Jets at St. Louis Blues. 5:15, Vancouver Canucks at the Blackhawks. 5:30, Colorado at Seattle. 5:45, Boston at Nashville. 6 o'clock, Carolina at Edmonton. 6:15, Ottawa at Utah. 6:30, Pittsburgh at Calgary. 7:15, San Jose Sharks at the Anaheim Ducks. Woo woo. 8 o'clock, Los Angeles Kings at Vegas. That's going to be fun to watch pretty much all day tomorrow. All day hockey. How can you not love that? I'm pretty sure ESPN or ESPN2 is going to have their multi-views, so be sure to check that out. But as far as the Ducks are concerned, they're playing a San Jose team that has struggled. This is a big chance for the Ducks to really blow them out of the water and pick up 2 crucial points before they head off on their East Coast road trip. So that's what's on tap for the Anaheim Ducks. With that being said, we're going to wrap up here, but I want to thank you all so much for your continued support, especially right now. Just thank you all so much for the continued support when I really need it right now. So just thank you all once again. Don't forget, this podcast is free and available across all platforms, including Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., etc. You can follow me on Twitter X at StimpyJD. The show's Twitter X is at LO_Ducks. You could email me at lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com. And also check us out on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And just thank you all so much. Enjoy all the hockey tomorrow. For Locked On Anaheim Ducks, I'm Jason Hernandez saying have a great rest of the day and evening. Please remember to be safe out there. Please be kind to one another. Please be kind to yourselves. And Ducks fly together.